Perfect.
And here we go. Whoa! Ah, man. We're back.
Indeed we are.
Welcome to episode 3, Seashells. Oh, I pointed the
Yep.
wrong way with my hand. Nope. There we go. Oh, I'm going to find it. Nope.
Haha. Nope.
There we go. Ah, that was embarrassing. I'm already
Really nailing it.
I'm already drunk. Well, welcome to another edition of OK Podcast with Bad People. I'm CJ.
Indeed. I'm Robert.
And we're here today to talk about 1993's
Correct.
Demolition Man and how do the shells work. And for the video game portion, we're going to talk about our dream builder style game like Minecraft and the like. But before any of that, Robert, do you have something special for us?
I do have something special for us. So, one of the things that's going on in a movie we're talking about today, Demolition Man, is that as a result of the fast food wars, all restaurants are now Taco Bell because Taco Bell won the fast food wars.
Oh man, that's something we need to talk about. I think we watched different versions of the movie.
Oh, okay. So actually, you probably watched a non-American version of the movie because in most versions, or like in the original American version of the movie, it's Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But in 1993, Taco Bell wasn't well known outside of the U.S., and so they changed it to Pizza Hut. So you must have watched a non-American version of Demolition Man if you thought Internet. It was Pizza Hut.
Well, no, I knew it was Taco Bell the first time I saw it, and then when you're watching the movie and they're like, yeah, Pizza Hut. Like, they'll say Pizza Hut like it's dubbed correctly, but their lips are clearly saying Taco Bell. I was like freaking out.
They redubbed it, and they went in post-production and changed the logos to Pizza Hut logos.
All right. Yeah, it's okay. But I thought I was going crazy when they started talking about Pizza Hut. I was like, I thought it was Taco Bell. What the fuck?
Yeah. I assumed you had watched the American version of it, and
that's not the version I found to watch.
Yeah. Thusly, I did a little bit of a deep dive on the restaurant which will one day be our food overlord, according to the American version of Demolition Man, Taco Bell.
Nice.
You got a little Taco Bell quiz for you.
I might do okay.
So, the first Taco Bell was built in 1962 by Glenn Bell. The outdoor restaurant featured fire pits and a mariachi band.
Mm-hmm.
The simple menu offered 6 items, all sold at 19 cents a piece, and you get the pleasure of guessing which of the items I'm about to list wasn't actually on that menu. So, was it A, tacos, B, nachos, C, burritos, or D, chili burgers?
Nachos.
Oh man, you're really good at this.
You want to know why?
I do, yeah.
I had to do an entire report on the history of Taco Bell.
Oh man, all right. Well, you know what? You always complain about how you never aren't able to know ahead of time. You never get to study, and at this time you don't have that excuse.
I know.
Let's see if you can keep it up.
I won't. I just remember that because they started originally he was going to do a chili restaurant, but then the people were like, hey, Mexican's more popular, so he just did the chili thing as a side thing, and that eventually got phased out. That's the only reason I remembered that.
So that's not the story that I had heard.
Oh, no.
Or that I had read about. The story that I had read about was he had originally opened a hot dog stand, and there was a legit Mexican restaurant not far from his hot dog stand.
His teeth.
It's an Office reference.
Oh, okay. Jim, not Jim. The guy who drops his chili.
No, it's a quiz that Michael and Holly do in front of the whole branch.
Oh, okay.
I am the knower of The Office.
You have done it.
Anyways, he had learned from the Mexican restaurant next door how to make tacos and opened a restaurant called Taco Tia, where he served hot dogs, hamburgers, and tacos and milkshakes. And then he sold Taco Tia to make Taco Bell because tacos were such a novelty at that time in the US, and also like he really popularized the hard shell taco. So anyways, um I do want to say with our last question, if Taco Bell still served chili burgers, I'd eat the shit out of that.
Yeah, chili
Bring
burgers are
back the
awesome.
chili burger. All right. So, as okay, the chili burger was replaced in the mid 1970s by the Bell Beefer, which is a sloppy Joe with taco meat,
Yeah, I know that
which I
one.
would also eat the shit out of. And then the
Oh,
Bell
okay.
Beefer was discontinued in the mid 90s. But this is hardly the only menu item that Taco Bell has tried and ultimately discontinued. You know where it goes from here. I'm going to list 4 Taco Bell menu items that no longer exist, and you get to guess which one of them never existed.
Okay.
So, was it A, the double decker taco,
That was real.
B, the enchilado,
That was real.
C, the megordita, or D, cinnamon crispas?
Because I know there's a bunch of cinnamon things, like the cinnamon twists, so those sound real. The Megordita sounds like a thing you made up. I'm going to go with Megordita.
You got me.
Yep.
I did make up the megordita.
That sounds like the most television fast food item.
Yeah.
I
All
want to
right.
eat one.
Well, maybe someday. Listen, you know what, Taco Bell, take this idea, run with it.
What is the Megordita?
I don't even know what a gordita is, but it's a mega version of a gordita.
I think the Gordita is a less fried version of a chalupa. Like it's the one where like it's still flappy, the tortilla thing. I think that's what it
Gotcha.
is.
All right. Well, are you ready for question 3?
I am ready.
So, Taco Bell as the restaurant has innovated in a lot of different ways over the years. I'm going to list 4 notable firsts with Taco Bell can claim to its name, and you get to guess which one I made up. So,
Man, probably won't get this one.
was Taco Bell A, the first fast food chain to offer a value menu? B, the first fast food chain to discontinue their kids menu? C, the first fast food chain to change their logo based on the movie Demolition Man? Or D, the first fast food chain to hire female managers?
I believe it's A. The value menu is not the thing they did.
Oh, man, you're doing so good at this.
Yep.
Yes, it was A. Yeah, they were the first to discontinue their kids menu, the first to hire women as managers, and the only restaurant to change their logo based on the movie Demolition Man. So, question number 4.
I'm ready for
Taco
it.
Bell's hot sauce is mostly used for eating, but notably, the hot sauce has one other interesting use. So, can you use Taco Bell hot sauce to A, neutralize odors from a litter box, B, clean copper oxide from pennies, C, deter rabbits from eating vegetables in your garden, or D, encourage faster growth of edible fungi?
What was that last thing?
Encourage faster growth of edible fungi.
You mean fungi?
Yeah,
Okay.
fungi.
I've just never heard it said like that before, and I was just like, am I stroking right now? Huh.
It is probably me who is stroking.
The one that I want to say is true is the one with rabbits, because that's what they do in India to keep elephants from coming into villages, is they put pepper extract on fences. I feel like it doesn't have a high enough vinegar content to clean stuff off of pennies. The fungi thing, I don't know enough about fungi to be like, yes, that. But I feel like the capsaicin would hurt the fungi. And then what was the first one?
Neutralize odors from a litter box.
I mean, I'm going to go with the rabbits eating out of your garden.
Well, I got you on this one.
Oh.
It was the pennies.
Oh, okay.
The combination of vinegar and salt in Taco Bell's hot sauce is perfect for dissolving copper oxide from pennies.
All right.
All right. 2 questions left.
Oh, dang.
Question number 5. Taco Bell is well known for their advertisements and promotional stunts, but they have not always been successful, and some have even backfired. I'm going to list 4 marketing campaigns which did not go as well for Taco Bell as they had hoped, and you get to guess which one I made up. So, was it A, an April Fool's advertisement in which Taco Bell claimed that it was in the process of purchasing the Liberty Bell? B, a promotional Halloween menu item called the Blackjack Taco? C, an open letter to rapper 50 Cent in which they encouraged him to change his name to 79 Cent, 89 Cent, or 99 Cent to promote the items from their value menu? Or D, an attempt to convince the town of Portbridge, Oregon to change their name to Taco Bell, Oregon?
The Liberty Bell one, I feel like I remember hearing about. And then the one with 50 Cent, like something about that also sounds super familiar. So I'm stuck. The only one that like I don't know about at all is the holiday item, the Blackjack Taco, which that doesn't sound like that would backfire other than just it wouldn't be successful. So I'm going to go with that one, the Blackjack Taco.
I'm afraid the Blackjack Taco did backfire on them a little bit. It was released around Halloween and was pretty quickly met with a wide slate of reviews from customers who were concerned because it had turned their poop green.
Oh, it's the same thing with the Nightmare Whopper from Burger King.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, D was the one that I made up.
Okay.
Yep. The Liberty Bell one, people apparently went and protested their restaurants too, and they ultimately said that they ultimately like donated $50,000 to the whatever group maintains the Liberty Bell to maintain it into the future. So, not quite what they had hoped for. But that moves us on to question number 6.
Oh boy.
Taco Bell's most famous failed marketing campaign was also their most famous marketing campaign. The Yo Quiero Taco Bell ads featuring Gidget the Chihuahua were wildly popular and ran for years, but were ultimately canceled after they failed to produce any discernible increase in sales. However, Gidget's career didn't end when the commercials did. She went on to appear in a series of Geico commercials and had a role in one movie, and you get to guess which movie she appeared in.
Was it Beverly Hills Chihuahua?
That is on the list.
Okay.
So your options are A, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, B, Airbud, 7th Inning, C, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde, or D, Hotel for Dogs.
I've never seen Hotel for Dogs, so I don't know. I also never saw that Airbud one, but I believe it's a thing because there's a billion Airbud movies.
They are all real movies.
Oh, yeah. It's like the Legally Blonde one. I know I've actually seen that one, and she has like a pocket Chihuahua that she has, but I don't know if that's Gidget. But I went Beverly Hills Chihuahua, I guess. I don't know. Sure.
It was Legally Blonde.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah. But I don't know. I guess only 50% on the quiz today. Started strong, didn't stay that way. But, not bad. Hopefully it was fun and you learned some new things about Taco Bell.
It was one of those things.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well, now that the most entertaining part of this is over, it's time to move into talking about this movie, Demolition Man.
Indeed.
So, are you ready to give a 30-second plot synopsis of this movie?
Yeah, I forgot to write it completely, but
I was wondering. I was just like, do this. No.
But I think I can do it.
It's all right. I'll get the timer started in just a moment. As soon as I can find... There we go. I keep forgetting it's in the clock thing now. All right. You ready? I'm going to count down.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
So this movie follows John Spartan, known as the Demolition Man, a police officer whose attempts to protect his people he's protecting often end up with things getting blown up and shit going crazy. He's trying to catch this guy named Simon Phoenix, who's like a real bad dude. And he does, but Simon Phoenix gets him framed, and they both get cryogenically frozen and sent to the future. And when they wake up in the future, um, basically violence has been removed from society, which means that Simon Phoenix is free to go do violence, and John Spartan has to try and catch him while working with the people of the future, who are too tame to really be of much use in attempting to help catch um, Simon Phoenix.
All
How
right.
far did I go over time?
Oh, just about a minute.
Okay, yep.
um, I was like, yeah, I'll just let him go. Let's let him have fun. But yeah, this was the first time you'd seen this movie, correct?
That is correct.
I had seen this movie. I think this is the third time I've seen it, but it's been over a
Oh,
decade
wow.
since I've seen it for the first time. I saw it with my. This is one of those movies I watched with my dad a long time ago, and he was like, "Yeah, we can watch cool '80s ish action movies, even though it takes place in the '90s." It was made in the '90s, I guess, or whatever. And like that. And then I saw it again before moving to Oklahoma, but then yeah, I haven't seen it since. The only things
Gotcha.
I remembered were the seashells, the war of the fast food restaurants, and then how Wesley Snipes' character, the Simon Phoenix, who's the guy that Robert is in front of. Let's move him over so now you can see him. How he dies. Those are the only things I remembered. So I was excited. There's a bunch of stuff in this movie that made me laugh and chuckle, and it was nice.
Yeah,
It's a dumb movie, but
it is a dumb movie.
it's fun.
Yeah, this was my first time seeing it. I think it's the third best movie I watched this week. It was, I would say, as a science fiction movie, it's bad. As an action movie, it's like passable. As a comedy movie, I find it genuinely funny, but also potentially thematically troubling in the same way that I find a movie like Idiocracy funny, but thematically troubling. So, um, that having been said, like it genuinely made me laugh quite a number of times, and I had fun watching it.
All right.
So,
But let's see. Is there anything you wanted? This is your first time seeing it. Was there anything particularly you wanted to start talking about, or
um, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could kind of like talk about some of the big things just because I feel like they'll keep coming up as we discuss it. Um, I had mentioned that like I find this movie really funny, but also like there are some things about its perspective which make me feel kind of uncomfortable. I
okay?
don't think so. Like in the case of this movie, I would say I don't think that it is explicitly from the perspective of a like anti-PC type person, but I do think it's kind of implicitly from the viewpoint of someone who would conflate machismo with like machismo and being manly with like goodness, and who would look at a lot of the ideas of like PC culture and inclusiveness and like getting beyond gender stereotypes as a bad thing. And that perspective that I feel like is kind of underlying a lot of the movie, a lot of the comedy in the movie makes me feel a little uncomfortable with it. But um, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it really comes down to different time. If this movie was made today, then yeah, I'd be like, that's kind of weird. This movie ain't woke. But
Yeah. I mean, like, that's definitely true. But that doesn't mean that I can't criticize both it and the time that it's from for that.
I don't think that's what it was about, really. I think it was more. To me, it felt almost like the opposite, I guess, where John Spartan and Simon Phoenix aren't like what things should be. They're a remnant of a bad past when everything was shittier.
Hmm.
And they are both. And with the little bit of shittiness that's still in the future, that being that I forget his name, Doctor whatever it was, the
Cocteau.
Cocteau, bringing shit from the past into the future that is good, is that bringing John Spartan was a necessary evil rather
So
than
I
like a good thing.
Yeah, I guess I'd say like the thing that makes me feel like that's not an accurate reading of what this movie is about is the plot line involving the people who live below the city and the idea that their way of life is kind of like impossible to live in the upper city. They like talk with the Smiley. Is that the name of the leader of
Friendly.
the Friendly? Yeah. They talk with him and he kind of makes the case that like if you want to be a free thinker, that's why you live in the like underground because you can't tolerate the way that people live on the surface. But I would also say that the like surface world feels kind of straw manny in a lot of ways. Like it doesn't feel realistic at all. And a movie designed to criticize it, I would say, is in some ways like a movie that's criticizing that top world that they have, where everything is like so peaceful that people don't know how to use violence or anything like that. Almost feels to me kind of like in equilibrium when they're criticizing the idea of a world where like no one has emotion. It's like criticizing a thing that no one is really standing for. But
I
yeah,
I can't ever really tell when you're finishing a thought because it feels like you're
okay.
still building towards something, and then you just stop dead, and I'm like, oh, is that is
Hmm.
I don't if I don't think this had anything to do with PC culture. I don't feel like that's what the point of this movie is. I think you might be
Well,
digging into it a little harder than it was meant to be looked at. I
yeah,
think
I guess like I didn't mean PC culture so much as like the way that I would associate people who are against PC culture with also a perspective of like men should be men, that type of thinking. But um
I okay, I also didn't really feel that was the thing. I think the biggest question that it tries to handle but doesn't do well is to be free. Is it worth it to be free and not be safe? Sort of thing is like the people who live
hmm,
underground want to be completely free, but having that complete freedom flies in the face of all the stuff that keeps everything peaceful up above.
yeah.
I really think that was their biggest thing they tried to do, but that needed to be addressed like halfway through the movie instead of like in the last
Hmm.
third of it. For it to
Yeah.
really be anything, because no one even talks about it. Dennis Leary just has his little rant about covering himself in Jello and reading porn,
Yeah.
and then that's all that the movie gives. And then it goes back to gunfighting.
Hmm.
But I,
Yeah. I mean, like, in all fairness, trying to criticize this movie for like for what its thematic comment content might be does feel a little unfair because really this is just like a really dumb movie.
yes,
Um,
this is just a dumb movie.
but
But
you also know me; I can't help myself.
but this is one of my favorite kinds of like old school action movies. Is so I would say aside from Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone is probably like the other big '80s action hero. Like he's known for Rambo and Rambo 2 and Rambo 3.
Well, wasn't he in Rocky also? I
He
don't
was
know
all
if that counts as an
he's
action movie,
yeah,
but
it's still that same sort of thing. He's in Rocky. I was just doing a stupid thing where he's basically the ones that are in is for Rambo, for being
yeah,
action. Is that the problem that Arnold Schwarzenegger movies always had for me? Is that Arnold Schwarzenegger is just this hulking, huge, dumb guy who can just smash anything in his way. And
yeah.
aside from, I would say T2, which is amazing. Have you seen Terminator 2?
Oh yeah,
Okay. And Predator, there's never someone for him to fight on even keel. He's always either fighting an old
mm,
man that he just blows up with a rocket, or in the case of like Commando, this out of shape like 40-year-old dude that he just throws a pipe for, then goes let off some steam, Barrett.
yeah,
But this movie does the thing that I love where it sets up the hero and villain and they're basically like on the same like footing, both like physically and like kind of everything else, where it feels very even. So
yeah.
like when they
Arguably, Phoenix is even stronger than
yeah,
Spartan is.
and I just remember like in '80s movies, a lot of the times it was the reason the bad guys would win anything is they had a number of goons. But in this one, it felt like Sylvester Stallone, Spartan versus Phoenix. Like if they were alone in a punch-up room, it would be a good fight, and it ended up being like okay '80s fighting with way more crane game shenanigans than I remembered.
Yeah,
But the thing I kept thinking about the entire time I was watching this movie, and I bring this up a bunch anytime we talk about movies, I really think this is a movie that could be remade today and just be better in every
yeah,
instance. Because
for sure.
there's nothing about this movie that really needed to be like 80s or 90s culture for it to work. They could just do it again and just and with how writing I think has gotten better over time, really actually focus in on having those philosophical issues be
Yeah,
front and center, or if they're really creative, just constantly in the background and then they pull up at the end. But
yeah. Well, I feel like there's one of two ways that you could lean with this movie, or at least that I would be tempted to lean if I was like rewriting it. And one of them those is that direction where like there are some interesting philosophical questions that the movie kind of like touches on, or at least has the chance to deal with. But it is not super interested in doing that.
mhm.
But the other direction you could go would be to like really lean into the comedy. And I like a brilliant writer could do both, but
I
um,
really think both could work at the same time. That's how I was picturing it.
yeah,
Because in my brain, like I even went a step further than I normally do, and I was like, I could picture Chris Pratt being Spartan, where he'd basically just be like a like modified version of Star Lord, where he's definitely action capable, but he's always joking around, but he's
yeah.
irresponsible and gets shit blown up, and that's why he gets frozen. And
He's
then,
like a man baby from the past who,
mhm.
yeah,
And Pratt definitely has like the comedy chops to be like, "What the fuck are these seashells?" sort of things.
yeah.
And then I guess if it had to be like white guy versus black guy again, I think Michael B. Jordan would make for a really good replacement for Wesley Snipes.
Hmm.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he played Black Panther, right?
No, that's well, he was in Black Panther, but he's not Black Panther.
Oh, who Wesley Snipes is?
What? No, I'm the guy who would replace Wesley Snipes in
It was
this.
Michael B. Jordan. He
Yes,
wasn't Black Panther?
no, he was Killmonger.
Okay.
Michael B. Oh my goodness, I actually forgot the name of the guy who plays Black Panther. But anyway, no, I don't know. Honestly, they could probably just bring Wesley Snipes back. I don't care. Wesley, because I haven't seen a Wesley Snipes movie that wasn't Blade in such a
Yeah.
long time, so I forgot that he could be like a weird goofster sometimes. But man, he carried those overalls through the entire film.
Indeed, he did.
That was the only other thing I remembered is that he had bleach blondish hair and wore overalls through like almost the entire movie.
Yeah. Apparently, he hated the blonde hair,
Oh.
and like the day after filming wrapped, immediately just like shaved his hair off. But we're skipping ahead to some trivia just because you brought up his hair.
All right.
But Phoenix's hairstyle did inspire one very famous NBA player, Dennis Rodman.
The
Yeah.
worm. man. But I also forgot Sandra Bullock was in this movie.
Yeah, she is one of the main characters.
Yeah, that was weird seeing her like that because I don't know. Like I've seen her in. Wait, no, that's Julia Roberts. The one movie I always remember Sandra Bullock from is The Net. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I feel like maybe I saw it when I was a kid, but not. I don't remember anything about it if I saw it.
But that or Miss Congeniality, which he actually co-stars with the dude who's oh my god, what's his name? The like Hispanic partner that they have, like the third dude that hangs out with them the whole time.
Hmm. Yeah,
They're
I don't
the
know the actor's name.
they're the two main characters of the Miss Congeniality movies.
I do remember those movies very vaguely. I remember my mom liked them a lot, and so
I
we
liked them.
watched them as family.
They were good. If they made another one after two, I haven't seen it. But I'm curious because you said as science fiction this wasn't very good. So I'd really like to hear why you feel that way.
Well, I mean, part of it is just like that it doesn't dig into those like philosophical questions. To me, like good science fiction should do that.
Okay.
But also like a lot of these science fiction concepts, like you could easily rewrite them to not be dumb, but they're like objectively dumb the way they're written. So like the idea, for example, a big thing, and this is also a place where you could ask some interesting moral questions, is the like cryo prison system,
Mm-hmm.
where if you are cryogenically frozen, there is no kind of suggestive process that is going to work to like rewrite someone's brain because their brain is frozen. Like suggestive, like hypnotic suggestive programs, if they work at all, would only work on a brain where like some part of that brain is moving, and if it's frozen solid, then it's not going to work. So like there's just a lot of the sci-fi concepts of the movie are like really dumb and easy to break apart, but like they're they're so easy. Those concepts would be so easy to just say, well, that's future space magic, that like it almost feels wrong criticizing it for that as well. But like if it wants to be viewed as a science fiction, then I feel like you have to either make things that feel realistic or be comfortable saying this piece is just space magic, let it be. um which like maybe it did that, I don't know, but
Uh, the cryo prison I think is something that if they made a remake of, I honestly wasn't bothered by it. Like the thing of hypothetical of how they were able to suggest while they were frozen, the very fact that like I don't know, it would be like the liquid that they freeze allows them to do it. I don't know, but I totally forgot that they
I
basically
mean, you
drowned
can just
them.
like write one line like that in.
Yeah,
But if they're just frozen solid, then that's not gonna work. So
but I forgot that they like put you in a room and then like a little bucket and then they just fill it with liquid. Like that's horrific.
yeah.
I
Apparently it was terrifying to film also. I don't know, like they didn't go much into the details of how they did those special effects, but apparently Sylvester Stallone had said in interviews like that was not a fun scene to film.
I can't imagine it would be to be like, okay, I'm almost drowning. This nope,
Yeah.
stop. But I I did really appreciate there's just other weird, goofy, like jumping around tangents of the weird like swear jar that society operates under. Is that you would just like
Yeah.
hear it in the background from like for
Yeah, that
basically the
was
whole movie.
a really great piece of comedy. There were a couple times where they like don't do it during the action scenes, which I found kind of disappointing. Like it would have just been like a funny little bit. You know, like the one that I remember was in the museum
Museum.
fight. There's
Yeah.
some swearing, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't hear him get fined for that one."
That's where we noticed it too, but then we both were like, maybe it's because it's in lockdown mode, those things aren't on. Because by
Yeah.
that
I
point,
mean, that's like a fair explanation for why it didn't happen. I'm just saying it would have been funny if it happened.
mhm.
But
But I'm trying to think. I think for me the dumbest science fiction thing they had was that gun that he had that
Yeah.
has infinite ammo, but it takes 2.5 minutes to fire.
Yeah, and he like I don't think he ever kills anyone with it on screen at least, right?
No,
Like
he
he
uses it to break
misses with
stuff.
it 100% of the time or to break stuff. But
Yeah, that's
um,
how I always saw. Is like he blows up the the fire hydrant, and stuff like that.
yeah.
Also, like, where the fuck were they getting all of their bullets for all of the
Yeah.
guns that he stole from the armory?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you can make the case with him that maybe there were a bunch of bullets in the armory also, but that seems kind of dumb. Like,
Yeah.
why would they, like, it would make somewhat sense if they had, like, one of each type of bullet for, like, each gun on display, but the fact that they have shitloads
Oh
of
man,
ammo,
that could be really cool. Like a
yeah, if they
tension
only had one of
device.
each.
Everyone, yeah, like they
Yeah,
have a whole bunch of guns, but they only have one bullet. Because
yeah.
I'm pretty.
Which like you could make work in that future situation because like the power of a gun so like vastly outweighs those little zapping sticks
Mhm.
that like that could be a really interesting play into the power dynamics of the movie if like his character has those guns, has that power, but has to be so selective with using them. Whereas like in the movie, of course, he really is able to just like spray and pray.
Yeah, the
Um,
gunfights in this were very bad 80s action of just like him turning around the corner and just firing like 18 times with both guns, or the one time near the end where he does like the diving John Woo double pistols.
yeah.
I was just like, that was pretty. Oh man, we're gonna just rewrite Demolition Man. We're gonna get this made. I have to ask because it kind of set the tone for the whole thing. Is what did you think of the scene where John gets into at the very beginning when he jumps out of the helicopter?
That for me was like, see, that to me is like what I associate with action movies with is that kind of scene. And I just find that kind of scene very boring most of the time. Like, there's movies that can do that kind of scene that engage me. Like, Die Hard is a good example. But I think that that movie, like, got me invested in the character first. Whereas this movie, like, John Spartan is never a character who I really get that invested in, but also like you just immediately start off with him being badass action man. And so like all the way up until he gets to the future, I was like, man, I'm not going to like this movie at all if this is like the forecast for what's ahead. Like what sold me on this movie was the humor element.
Yeah.
Which like does not really show up until he gets to the future. But,
I guess I just meant the idea of bungee jumping out of the back of a helicopter.
oh
That,
yeah.
like, when he just jumped and he just yells, Phoenix! I was like, what the fuck is he doing? And then he just stops at the end and then shoots those people with a handgun. I saw that as, like, almost visual comedy. Like, it was trying so hard to
Yeah.
be badass that it was stupid. I was laughing at that. That was so dumb.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, yeah, you probably were like giving it more credit than I was at that point. Because I was just like, yep, that's dumb.
It was so dumb. I also don't understand really how he would have been sent to cryo prison, because they would have looked at the bodies that he was allegedly responsible for killing and would have been like, these were definitely dead before the explosions happened.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the way that you can headcanon it is like the explosions just burnt those bodies to a crisp, you know? So, like, in terms of forensically determining time of death, there just, like, wasn't enough organic matter left to be able to do that. But, yeah, I mean, that's a perfectly valid criticism since they didn't go to the trouble of saying, like, these bodies were burned beyond all researchability or something.
So I was just like, wait a minute. Because even if they were dead for a while, because like, it may not be true because I'm basing it on other like CSI type shows. And I've seen ones where they try to set it up where it's like, haha, this person was killed in the explosion or burned to a crisp, but it's like, no, after a body's dead, their chemical makeup in their like skin and fat tissue changes, so you can actually tell even after they've been burned
Hmm.
that they were dead before that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I loved the part in the movie where it was they were watching it was Sandra Bullock and then her cop friend watching like a highlight reel of John Spartan like walking into like reporters away from stuff after he'd done
Yeah.
the thing, and he has the little girl with him.
Hmm.
Just like, how do you justify causing millions of damage to save a girl whose ransom was only like thousands of dollars? And the little girl's just like, fuck you.
So I could have misunderstood this piece of trivia, but I think that little girl is actually his daughter.
Oh, I'd believe
Yeah.
that.
Because in the original version of the script, there was like a whole subplot with like you see his daughter in the like past stuff,
Oh,
and then in the
like
future,
John Spartan's daughter.
John Spartan's daughter. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant
And
Sylvester
then
Stallone's daughter.
oh no no
And I
no.
was like, I'd believe it.
John Spartan's daughter. And then like in the future, he actually does find her again, and she's living with the underground people. But apparently, test audiences had been a little ooked out about the idea that John Spartan's character ends up dating someone who's younger than his own daughter in the course of the movie. So they just removed that whole subplot.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that vibe at all from how the movie was cut this time. That was her daughter, his daughter.
Yeah, there's like nothing in the way that it's currently cut to indicate that to you.
Gotcha. Trying to think. Man, it's a dumb movie.
It is a dumb movie.
That's
Yeah. It was weird seeing like you said, Sandra Bullock, also young Rob Schneider. I was like, oh, when he first showed up, I was like, is that Rob Schneider? And then I was like, that's not Rob Schneider. And then it was Rob Schneider.
he just like Rob Schneider's character in that just seems almost like one of the three different characters Rob Schneider plays. So
Yeah.
he felt pretty normal. The I I when I saw the opening credits, it said Jesse Ventura was in it, so I was waiting the entire time to be like, "Who the fuck's Jesse Ventura going to be in this movie?" And then he's just like the big dumb goon at the end of the movie. I was so bummed. He's a sexual tyrannosaurus.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the like wasteland scrapper people at the start of the movie is also a very young Jack Black.
Oh, I was like, "Who's Jack Black?" And then my brain remembered. Huh. Wait, at the start of
Yep.
the movie?
Yeah, the like rioting people in LA
Oh, okay.
when like LA is just a fiery hellstorm and there are various just like scrappy Mad Max people running around there. He's
Is it
like
one of the people that he
Mad Max
beats up, or
people.
is he just like in a background character?
I don't know for sure. I just know that he's one of the wasteland scrappers.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's really anything else worth talking about this movie. I can't really think of anything.
Hmm. Um. I don't know. I mean, could talk about like specific things that were funny or interesting. I know we've already talked about the like swear jar thing, but the bit where John Spartan intentionally swears so he can get the tickets to use his toilet paper made me laugh.
That also made me, because I was really confused what was happening when he just started like Tourette'sing into the machine. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is he just trying to make it run out of paper or something? And then when he's like, and then he's just like, never mind about the seashells. And I was like, oh, that's gonna be terrible wiping.
Yeah, it's not great, but I guess if your only other option is the seashells, um,
I really want to know what you do with the
so,
seashells.
so we actually do have a little bit of information about how they work from an interview with, God damn it, we've been talking about him this whole time, Stallone.
Okay.
Um,
That guy
which
in the
like
movie.
I don't have a completely clear picture of how they work. The way that I've drawn them is definitely not in keeping with what he described. But he said apparently two of the seashells are supposed to work like chopsticks. So I guess you reach into yourself to like remove fecal matter. And then the third seashell is used for wiping in some way. And he did not talk about whether the seashells get sanitized between use at all. So,
Oh,
yeah. Just the idea of like chopsticking poop out of your own butthole is weird and gross.
that is a phrase I didn't expect to hear today. Chopsticking
Well,
poop out of your own butthole.
yep. You never know what you're gonna get. Life being a box of chocolates and all that.
Well, hope it was chocolates.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm trying
But
to.
yeah, that was like a genuinely funny bit though, the whole idea of the three seashells. Um I think one that like a bit that didn't work quite as well for me was the idea that the people of the future, like it's a little bit funny, but they just played it too much, was that the idea of people from the future being really into jingles. Like that's what they think of oldies as. So there's like multiple scenes where they're in the car just like singing along with a hot dog jingle, like this is the best song ever.
I mean, that was a genius marketing decision because those were all real jingles that
Yeah.
I'm sure they got paid money for.
Well, I know like one of the jingles they sang was like a jingle from the 50s or 60s. So like I don't know if those were actually product placements. The Taco Bell was also not a product placement.
Then never mind. I thought it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, no, that was just like what the way that they chose to write the future. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. I figured they're like, they just reach out and they're like, hey, we're going to be singing old jingles. They could be like jingles that are no longer like what that company was running in the 90s, but that would still work as advertising. Because I recognize the dog food one, and then like the one dude who at the Pizza Hut Taco Bell is playing the piano and he's singing the Jolly Green Giant
yeah.
one, and I was just like, oh man, this is like it works in world somewhat, but it's like this is a great way to be like, you give us 50 grand, we'll put your name in our movie. Okay, but if that was not product placement, then never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I know like with Taco Bell they had chosen Taco Bell just almost because they felt like it was so shitty and cheap that it would be the one that won. But so like in some ways it's an insult to Taco Bell that it's the one that got used. But Taco Bell being a company that apparently does not miss a good marketing opportunity sort of played into it. And that's why like if you remember the Taco Bell logo from when we were growing up was like kind of neon-y colors. Was because they wanted it to like reflect that sort of future aesthetic from Demolition Man.
Huh. I honestly can't remember what the Taco Bell logo used to look like.
It looks the same as the one that we have now in terms of the design, but the colors look like sort of neon colors.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Demolition Man Taco Bell.
Yeah, like the current one is that just like purple color, right? But it's the same design. But then, yeah, that like older one from the 90s is got some like pinks and blues going on and a
Yep. Gotta go to Pizza Hut.
there were other like sometimes there were things that this movie was not trying to be funny but made me laugh. One like the little teleconference things that Cocteau uses,
Uh-huh.
but like everyone's face is just jammed up in that little rectangle. I don't know, that made me laugh.
But hey, those were goofy.
Um, One thing that I liked as an idea, but I feel like I would have rewritten how they resolved it, um, was the idea that John Spartan had like been implanted with the urge to sew and knit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like when he first starts when like he goes into his own apartment and then like sits down and starts knitting, I was like, okay, this is not something I was expecting this character to do. Um, and then like I would have really liked that as a thing that was part of his character or like became integrated into his character. So like I don't mind that he initially like shows up the next day and is like, "Oh man, really? I'm a seamstress now." But it would have been better to me if like by the end of the movie he was like, "You know what? I'm okay with this. I'm gonna go knit some scarves." But
Like, see, like that would be the thing in our version of it that we rewrite
yeah,
is like they like it'll be Chris Pratt and the villain talking, and he's like, they'll talk about the fact that they've been coded for stuff, and he's just like, yeah, I'm a seamstress, and I made you something, and then he like looks up and like in the mirror, or he looks like on the CCTV where he is, and he's just holding up a sweater that he has knit that just says "fuck you" on it, or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Sylvester Stallone is just not a good actor.
yeah. He's not great. I mean, he's fine for delivering the like action lines. Like I think he's well suited for the types of movie that people put him in. But
Oh, so tired. But yeah, like it's been so long since I've seen a movie with him in it. Like the last movie I saw with him in it was like one of the Expendables movies, which I knew was just like dumb garbage that's just for explosions.
yeah,
But yeah, like watching him in this, I'm just like he like rarely ever changes his facial expression, and he's just like, I know, but you gotta, oh, hey, you want to fuck in the computer? And he's just like. Also, I can't tell if he was enjoying or not enjoying the weird cyber sex thing that they were doing.
yeah. It's hard to tell. Like he just got so weirded out by it. Um,
Because it
but
looked,
at the same time, like I don't know, it didn't look like a fun experience to me. But
yeah, the visuals seemed horrific, but it looked like he was coming
yeah,
close to nut like so many times. Where he's like, oh, and I was like, oh, I didn't want to see Sylvester Stallone's O face in this movie.
you didn't want to watch him jizz in his
I
pants.
did not want to see him demolition his own pants with his jizz.
I did the rat burger scene also made me laugh though, where he like they go down into the sewers and he like gets that burger and starts eating it, and then it's revealed partway through eating the burger that it's a rat burger, and he's just like, yeah, this is the best burger I've ever had. Like I liked that about his character, that he was like open-minded enough to be like, I don't care that this is made out of rat, it's just tasty.
It was pretty good. And I've had different kinds of rodent like cooked, so it probably tasted actually pretty good.
Yeah, could be.
Especially like they're just going through like all the stuff that was outlawed. Like you can't
Yeah,
have meat, you can't have alcohol, sugar, salt.
yeah.
And I thought about it, I'm like,
Well,
you need salt in your body. How can they outlaw
yeah.
salt?
Yeah, I mean, like they say that, they like say that you are what you eat, and so if rats are like just eating the refuse of like human food scraps, then they'd probably taste like human food scraps. Pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty. I have to say, I think the dumbest thing that happened in the whole movie that I was just like, what the fuck just happened was the scene outside. It was either the police office or like City Hall or whatever, where that weird little camera thing the underground people have shot up and then like magically graffitied "Life is Hell"
Yeah.
on the weird sign, and then the sign like shocks it away, and then like the thing just short circuits and blows up, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" And then it never gets brought up again. Like that's just like a thing that happened, I guess. And I was just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that is like a really dumb. That was like a dumb thing on so many levels. Like the idea that you have these people living beneath the city and they're like so hard up for food that they're having to risk their lives to like come up and steal it. But at the same time, they're going to build a weird periscope thing so that they can make a futile attempt to spray paint "Life is Hell" onto a sign.
And I think it did go into another good joke where like Sandra Bullock is talking to the chief or someone, and they're talking about how that there was another graffiti incident inside of a building, and she's just like, "Oh, why wasn't there an all cars bulletin?" And I was just like, "Oh my god." Because like an all cars bulletin, from what I understand, like that's like everyone who's not doing something needs to be here now.
Yeah.
Just for to be like, look at all these dicks they sprayed on the wall. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I guess because like they live in a future that's so crime free, also that like someone spray painting the inside of a building would be a big enough deal to get all available people on it.
But like, what would the cops do? The spray painting already happened. Are they gonna like unpaint it?
I mean, what they would do was locate the criminal and then calmly tell them to please
stop it.
Stop it. Yeah.
I can't tell like if the idea was like none of the cops have training and they're always like trained at the moment, or what was really going on with the little thing that was just telling them what to do.
I mean, I feel like they have some training, but also that like their whole system relies upon like using that computer system and having it tell them like moment to moment, here's what you do to resolve this or that crime. But I mean, also like from their perspective, they're dealing with something that not only have they never seen it before, it's the kind of thing they can't even like imagine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which like is another reason that like as a sci-fi concept, this movie, like one really dumb thing that it does is like that there's only like a 30 to 40-ish year time span. It feels like too short of a time for humanity to have become like that changed, especially because there's people who were alive in John Spartan's time who are still alive. Like,
I agree. That felt really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't understand why they wouldn't have just set it like 100 years in the future at least instead of only 40. But
I think it was having to do with the prison sentence that they gave him, because they'd be like, it'd be weird if they're like, we sentenced you to 400 years in cryo jail. I don't know. But I think that's something that could be written and fixed, where they could say, yeah, you are sentenced to 130 years because that's how long it takes for this weird synapsis rehabilitation process to work.
Yeah.
And you're not losing this time, even. You're not going to age, so it's fine. But
yeah, I mean, you are still losing some important things. Like John Spartan points out, everyone who he knew for the most part is dead now.
And I think that would be something to really touch on in a remake, is that people be like, I would rather lose 20 years of my life than lose everything that I could have done with being with my wife and my daughter. But I think, especially in today's sort of like police climate thing, is that those weird little instructional computers would actually be something that, I don't know if they'd be used for comedy, but like it would be a thing where it'd be like, yeah, we use this for protocol so that way every cop is doing everything exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think those would be something that you could really do like a message with if this movie was remade. Sort of like with body cams and everything, where it's like, this is what every cop will do when they come up with you. Is like, you have to read off the thing.
But I mean, there would definitely be like legitimate criticisms you could make of that system also, which would make for an interesting movie. But
because that would be the thing is the cops are like, yeah, but then like the Spartan of this one would be like, wait, but you have to learn to adapt and stuff if you do it the same way every time. Whatever. I think of all of the movies that I've said like, oh man, this could be remade, like Equilibrium or whatever. This one I think could be remade the best, and could be better than original Demolition Man.
For sure, yeah.
And you could even put Sylvester Stallone in it as like a weird side character.
Yeah, he could be one of the flunkies that Simon Phoenix de-cryo freezes when Cocteau makes the ridiculously stupid decision to let him bring more people back.
That was really dumb.
Like, it's so dumb. Like, Cocteau has to know that the only reason he can control Phoenix is because he like very specifically programmed him to not be able to kill him. So like, it's so dumb to let him bring 6 other people back.
But that was so dumb. Now you brought that up. I totally forgot what I was going to say because of how dumb that decision was in that movie. Oh no, I was going to say is if they put Sylvester Stallone in the remake because of what he was, I think he would probably be the person they have play friendly in the remake.
Yeah.
Or
he could play the other police officer who was still alive if they still made it that short of a time period.
Yeah, but now that would also probably.
But we're saying like one of the big fixes you have to make is that time period has to be longer.
But what they could do is he could be like someone who actually is over 100 years old, but like in a nursing home or something. Like Chris, like I keep saying Chris Pratt, like Chris Pratt's gonna do this, but like our new John Spartan, like here's like, whoa, that guy's still alive, and like visits him in like a nursing home where he's basically like hooked into a computer and he's just kept alive by a machine.
Yeah, or you could also write it where like he also got cryo frozen for like going too far in the line of duty, but he got unfrozen sooner because his like crime was less or something.
There you go. Look at this. We're doing it. We got this. Hey, Silver Pictures. I know you're not a company anymore, but if you come back to life, we'll make that remake for you.
Yep.
I don't think if there's anything else that I really want to talk about. Because after watching Minority Report, I'm like, man, 6 sticks are way cooler than glow sticks.
Wait,
what were they called? Weren't they called glow sticks? They're like batons in Demolition Man. They were called glow something.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. I don't remember what they were called.
What
did they have in Identity or Minority Report? I don't
6
remember.
Sticks, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
The one where you touch them in the throat and it makes them vomit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think those are
that is it.
Instead of just like a fairy wand that like no one like gets beat with those. They just get touched on the head and then they go whoop. Which first of all, what the fuck, John, when he's like, how do these things even work? And he just touches a random like civilian with it outside the museum and just knocks him out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. I know that's for comedy, but that in real life is super fucked.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and like Sandra Bullock's character and the other guy who were there should have been like, dude, what the hell? Like, you can't just go knocking out civilians. But
I don't know what the deal was. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Oh no, my gift sub to Zero Gravity Theater expired. Oh. Now I can't use any of his cool emotes.
Sad day.
Sad day. I really can't think of anything else in this movie that I'm like, oh man, I want to talk about that. It was all.
Oh yeah, I think there were like, I don't know. This is such a like small dumb detail, but when Phoenix is bringing back criminals, and specifically mentions Jeffrey Dahmer, I was like, whoever wrote that like has to only be familiar with the sensationalized version of like what Jeffrey Dahmer was, because like the weird like sex shit going on in the actual Jeffrey Dahmer story is so dark and fucked up. like,
Yeah.
like even like Phoenix is a chaos agent, but I don't think that he would like I don't think as a chaos agent he would be actually interested in real Jeffrey Dahmer.
No,
But
he would be like, ah, fucker's weird, but he's not down to
yeah.
party. Yeah, that was. Gosh. The thing that I don't understand is why Phoenix was not executed.
I mean, I think the idea is that like when they get cryo frozen is right at I don't know, they do not explain at all what the politics of John Spartan's world are when he gets frozen.
Yeah.
But I feel like the way that you have to headcanon it is they've just started this new program and like somehow Cocteau has convinced the powers that be that like you're not putting people in prison anymore. You're not executing people anymore because we want a world without violence. And in order to truly have a world without violence, you can't even bring violence against violent people. What you have to do is rehabilitate them. And I have the way that you can do that.
That would make sense, but yeah, I wish it was just brought up.
Yeah.
I was also about to
Yeah.
say, like, I don't understand how Phoenix got parole before Spartan, but then I realized that Cocteau wanted him out, so he could have just pulled strings if he wanted to.
Well, and also like when they start that parole, they're like, don't they say to him, "This is probably not going to work out for you. Like you're going to get refrozen." Um, the other thing is, I guess we don't. I don't know. We know that Phoenix has like killed a lot of people, but John Spartan has been charged for killing what like 60 some people.
Well,
Like
no, he
an
was.
enormous number of deaths have been heaped on him, and he's been blamed for them.
It was 30
Um,
counts of manslaughter. None of them
okay.
were murder. Like,
Hmm.
there's not like one murder equals 5 manslaughters or something like
Yeah.
that. But
I mean, like, I agree with you. It's dumb. I'm just saying, like, I can see the logic of a dumb bureaucratic system, like, creating those different time differentials. But if you're saying those were all counted as manslaughter for him, then yeah, it's just, like, dumb no matter how you look at it.
yeah, I don't know.
I cannot headcanon my way out of that box.
I guess the only other thing that was super dumb was just I this was one of the times where I was remembering things being cooler than they were. Was like the kill of the murder death kill, I guess I should say, of Phoenix, because I remembered, oh, he gets frozen by
Yeah.
whatever. Is I thought what I remembered happening was like I knew it was whatever the chemical was that was used to freeze them.
The magic space crystal.
Yeah, is I thought they were fighting in a room and then like it drips down from the ceiling and like one drop
Mhm.
was enough to freeze the whole room or something. And I thought they were like lunging at each other and then Phoenix got frozen, but it's somehow Spartan is able from a sitting position to smash the thing, start freezing him, and then immediately jump like 10 feet into the air and grab onto the chandelier of Grabby Hand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how did he not get frozen?
Yeah. I mean, he also, at the start of the movie, kind of manages to, like, jump run out of a room full of gasoline that has just been lit on fire. So,
Will brought it up. Isn't it? Aren't they barrels of C4? Like they say
oh, I
C4
don't
on
know.
the barrels,
Maybe.
and because Will just went, "What barrels of C4?" And then like the whole building blows up, and I was just like, "How did he get out of that?" And then there's like, "John, you gotta stop it." I'm like, "Oh, I guess he just ran out really hard."
Yeah.
Also, the thing I don't fucking understand, I guess you want to interrogate him, never mind. I was just answering my question is, he left all those other goons unconscious to get burn crisped to death,
Yeah.
but he carried Phoenix all the way out. But I guess it's because he wanted to interrogate him to figure out where the hostages were.
Mm.
So I was just like, why did he choose to save him?
Yeah.
Also, how
I mean, also just because like the logic of action movies is that goons are disposable in a
disposable?
way. Like that doesn't even count as killing someone. But
Uh, do they even really explain how he becomes stronger? Because like they're like he's stronger than when he went in. Like
so I think the idea is like there was a lot of martial arts training and like that kind of thing that got implanted into him while he was sleeping. So he isn't necessarily like been physically made stronger so much as like he's had all of this training implanted into him now.
because
But
like when he's fighting those cops at the beginning, he grabs that one dude out of the like front window and throws him like with one hand like 30 feet away. Because as soon as he
yeah.
did that, I was like, oh yeah, I remember they say he's stronger, but then I was like, they don't really explain because I thought they meant like he
Hmm.
was made physically stronger. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily technique; it was like he was roided out somehow.
I mean, it could be that like Cocteau put some MacGuffin chemical into him as well to make him a even beefier beef boy. But
Beefy beef boys. Also, how did he short out 16 cameras by just zapping one of like he like do you know what I'm talking about? When he's at the like weird
um,
telephone booth where he's learning that he can hack everything,
mhm.
he just grabs the camera and then he goes and he does like the home of the brave and he touches the glow stick to it, and then all of
Hmm.
the cameras in the police station short out.
Yeah,
And they're like,
yeah,
he
I
just
don't
knocked
know.
out every camera in a 16 block radius. And I was like, what?
I guess maybe their power system in the future they haven't thought to defend it at all because things are so peaceful, and so there's like no backup in the system to keep the charge from the zapper stick from blowing up the entire police station. But
That makes sense.
that's a real stretch, even as some headcanon.
Uh, in the words of Street Fighter Third Strike. Oh man, I'm saying this too early for this to work, but here we go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if you heard that at all.
I did not.
That's
I
fine.
heard you typing, and then I did not hear anything.
The audience did.
All right.
Oh, now it just kept going. Don't worry about it. It was dumb. It was dumb. Ah! My brain is just sleepy pudding at this point. So anything else you want to talk about this movie? We've been going for a little over an
Well,
hour on it, so
well, I have some trivia for you as always.
yes.
So, trivia fact number one: in real life, Wesley Snipes is an actual black belt, and he's a very accomplished one at that.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the reason that a lot of his moves look really stilted in the movie is they had to ask him to slow down his kicks and punches because they were too fast and they looked blurry on camera. But also worth noting with that is they were using an abnormally slow film stock for this movie. But
I,
even
I know you wouldn't say something like this, but I thought you were gonna say Wesley Snipes was an actual black person. Like, for since you like started saying it, I was like, "What?" Oh man,
yeah, that is not what I was gonna say.
I was like,
I mean, he is also an actual black person, but
he is, and he is an actual black. Oh wow, he's actually a criminal as well.
is that true?
I thought because he very famously got in trouble with the IRS for not paying taxes, and I thought he went to jail for it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do not know much about Wesley Snipes. I don't
His,
know if I've seen any other Wesley Snipes movies.
his name is actually Wesley Snipes. You've
It's
never
a
seen
dope
Blade?
name. I haven't, no.
Let me just see. Wesley Snipes. Oh, he's in trouble again.
Oh, man. Wesley,
Yeah, Wesley.
gotta get your shit together.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes went to jail for 3 years for not paying taxes.
Wesley, and after they named you after the worst character in Star Trek The Next Generation. He's probably older
Picard?
than, I don't know. No, what Wesley Crusher.
7 of 9.
No. You're just fucking
Uh,
with me now to piss me off. Wesley goddamn
the
Crusher.
doctor, the guy with the pointy ears.
She's the child of the doctor. Or he is the child of the doctor.
Okay, so
Wesley,
we're talking
the
about the
boy.
dude who teaches kids how to read, right? On that PBS show.
No.
Oh, it was like the weird.
That's LeVar Burton who played Geordie LaForge.
No, he played Cyclops in X-Men.
Oh my god. Is this just your punishment to me for bringing up Star Trek? As you're gonna do this to me every time now?
I don't know. I'm setting my phasers for fun here. Is
All right. Well, are you ready for another fact?
yes.
So, in the Taco Bell sequence, the dress that Sandra Bullock wore is apparently made out of like actual gems and weighed about 40 pounds.
Ugh.
And by the end of filming that sequence, it had begun to tear under its own weight. And so like in some of the shots near the end, you can see her kind of like holding her arms to her side in order to try and prevent the dress from ripping apart.
Damn.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Indeed.
Okay, I remember who Wesley Crusher is. He's that guy Luke had to meet on Dagobah. I remember now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So-
Phasers to stun, set them you must. Now I remember. Okay.
Yeah. So, this is kind of an interesting one. István Németh, a Hungarian science fiction writer, has claimed that the plot of this movie is 75% identical to his 1986 novel, Holtak Harka, or Fight of the Dead. The book is about a terrorist and a counter-terrorist soldier who are cryogenically frozen and awoken in the 20th century to find a society which has been purged of violence. Németh decided not to sue, a process which he said would be too costly to pursue, but he noted that Hollywood often stole material from European authors whose work their American audiences were unlikely to be aware of, and he claimed to know the specific person who had stolen his idea and sold it to the studio.
Oh, what a shit ass. Not the author, but the guy who stole it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's true.
Oh.
Like, because, I mean, they never went to court, so, like, it really is just a he said, they said. Like, I don't know. I definitely would not put it beyond people in the Hollywood system to steal a novel from István Németh, but I can't, like, it's not like he doesn't have anything to gain from people believing that a very popular movie was based on his work also, so.
Makes sense.
But, yeah. Sort of an interesting and relevant discussion to the movie. So there was a novelization of this movie also, though. And one thing that's revealed in the novel that they made of Demolition Man is that Associate Bob, who is Dr. Cocteau's henchman guy, is actually a eunuch in the story, because Cocteau had him castrated in order to quell any potential ambitions he might harbor.
That I could see that.
Which, like, yeah, the character is definitely played in a way where he feels, I don't know, I remember seeing it, and he reminded me a lot of the guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know who you're
You know what I'm
talking
talking about?
Yeah, begins with a V, doesn't it?
Maybe.
The bald guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But at the same time, that guy who plays Bob has played that character in like 15 other movies. Like, I recognized him as soon as I saw him and how he kind of walked for a second. I was like, I know exactly who this character is without him talking. And then as soon as he was like, yes, Mr. Bob or Mr. Dr. Coteau or whatever, I was like, yep, it's him again.
Well, there you go. So, on to next fact. The name of the police computer was L7, which I guess is a bit of an inside joke because L7 is apparently police slang for a square. So it's just like a joke on how lame the people of the future were.
Ah, the
Um,
guy you're thinking of was Varys.
yeah, I liked that character.
I also did. I wish there would have been better resolution to his character arc.
I did not finish that series, so I don't know how it ends, but
Oh, do you
it's
mind if
fine.
I
No, go for it. I don't
he
care.
he gets discovered for trying to do treasonous things to stop Daenerys, and she burns him alive with a dragon.
Mm, that is unfortunate.
I mean, it fit, but it could have been done better. Much like everything at the end. I don't know. This isn't the Game of Thrones podcast, but I don't think the Game of Thrones ended horribly. It just could have been way better.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right, next fact. So, according to Dennis Leary, Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes insisted on doing all of his own action scenes, and in order to placate him, they would shoot all of the scenes with Snipes, and then after he left, they would reshoot the scenes with the actual stunt people who they wanted to shoot them with.
man, I've heard a bunch of stories of how like notorious Wesley Snipes can be on stage. Because you never, wow. Do we just need to watch Blade? Because Blade 1 and 2 are really good.
I mean, maybe.
I feel like I think you would love those. I'm so sure you would have seen at least one. But like in the third one in that movie, he just was so done with the movie that there's like, I can't not do it because I'm contracted. But there were just scenes where he refused to open his eyes. So there's like entire parts of that movie where like you see him laying down and they have to CG computer eyes over his eyelids. Because he's just like,
Oh my god.
he's like, I didn't say I would open my eyes. I'll just be here on the scene. And I was just like, oh.
That's such a shit move.
And you will pay me, but then I won't do these taxes. Ha ha. And then the government went, ha ha, Wesley Snipes.
That's not how it works.
You're going to jail.
All right, last fact. So, they made a Demolition Man action figure, which was in full armor, and was apparently just a repainted He-Man action figure.
I think I've heard that before. Like, as soon as you said action figure, I'm like, I know there's something stupid about it. I have to look this up now.
I did look him up. It looks pretty shitty, but it does not look like an action figure that I would want in my collection.
Yep. That just looks like He-Man.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like it's from the movie at all.
No, it does not. But it's funny.
Now, I don't know how true this is, because you said that your last fact. You said,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is one thing I had heard in the grapevine, and I refused to research it, so I can believe it to be true. Is that Master Chief's name comes from Demolition Man? Is the reason they it's like not a big church like it's completely done this. Like they came up with the idea for Spartans, and they were like, "What are we gonna name our Spartan?" And then they were like, John Spartan from Demolition Man. I had seen that in a YouTube video, so I'm like, that must be true.
I mean, I can see that being the case, but also like these Spartans are infamously are an infamously strong fighting force of Greek dudes, so
Yeah.
I could see that being the origin of both of these also, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean it would make sense.
Well, yeah, I not
Was
not
a-
the Spartan part of the name, but the name John. Just that they were like, we've came with the names where they're like, we're going to use the name Spartans too. What would be a good name, first name for someone who's a Spartan? And then they just went John Spartan from Demolition Man, because I think it's one of the Bungie people's favorite movies. I don't remember. That was kind of like what it was.
Yeah.
I don't
This
know.
movie actually had a name that was a reference to something. Lena Huxley.
Brave New
Lena
World.
something was the name of a character from an Aldous Huxley book. and so they like combined the two names together to make Lena Huxley.
Because I
Because
know
I guess Brave New World was supposedly a big inspiration for this movie.
because like Wesley Snipes even says that, like when they first meet again in the future. He says that he's like, "It's a brave new world, huh, Spartan?"
That's right.
And then I was like, Huxley! I've read almost all of that book before I got really bored of it.
It's on my list of things I know I ought to read at some point.
I
It's
read
not
it.
the Aldous Huxley book I read.
Because I read it right after I read 1984, and I just liked 1984 so much more that like I just stopped reading Brave New World. It just wasn't as interesting.
Makes sense.
I was like, that, Fahrenheit 451, and then it was like all of these future dystopia books that just by the time I got to Huxley's work. Because the reason I actually read it is because there was supposed to be this third-person shooter coming out called Huxley, which was like a team-based future dystopian shooter that just used the name Huxley because it was like one of the lead designer's favorite authors. And it was like in the future, and then someone was like, "Hey, this is the guy who wrote Brave New World," and I tried reading it, and I was like, "This is boring." But I was also in 11th grade, so I don't know.
Sometimes, as a pretentious 11th grader, you're not willing to give things the same kind of chance you might as an adult.
I'd just rather play Fallout 3 than read books. Take that, books.
I like to listen to books. I like to read them sometimes too, but
Anything else before we move into the closing portion of the video? Not video, the podcast.
well, we have to give this movie a rating.
I would give this movie like enjoyment factor wise, like a 6.5 to 7. Like it's not a piece of art that I'd be like, you have to watch this, but it's probably my favorite Sylvester Stallone movie, if that means anything.
This might be the only Sylvester Stallone movie I've seen.
You haven't seen Rocky?
I have not seen Rocky. I haven't seen Rambo. Yeah, I thought I'd pitched Rocky once to watch here, but then we ended up watching something else.
Oh, that may have happened, but I just figured you'd seen Rocky at some point in your life because you're an American.
I'm not a very American.
The movie that this movie really made me want to watch that I really like and I think would have an actual interesting discussion is Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie at all.
I'm familiar with the title, but I don't really know much about it.
It is not anything that you think it will be. Like if I was just like, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. It's all the Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies. It's a meta action film. That when it came out, people were like, meh, but as it's been out, people are like, this does a really good job of being like a meta movie. But I think it's a good movie.
Gotcha. It's aged better than it initially was taken.
Oh yeah, because I watched it for the first time like 2 years ago, and I was like, this is really good. Because I think I've seen every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I'll just say 6.5. That's what I'd give it.
Okay. Yeah, I think like a 6 is probably what I'd give it, so pretty close.
Yay. We did it.
We did it.
All right, so now there's no one really here to run a commercial for, so we'll just keep going. Really bummed. Dervik made it seem like he was going to show up because he, out of the blue, like on Tuesday, asked what our podcast was about, and I brought Demolition Man, and he was like, "Oh, murder, death, kill, and fast food wars," and I was like, "Yeah."
Well, he has an actual life. So.
I know. I can't blame him.
I'm just happy he stops by when he does.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about, just bounce some ideas around for like however long about what our ideal building type game would be. Something along the lines of Minecraft or the game Robert has been dropping, I'm assuming, hundreds of hours of his life into recently.
I didn't make hundreds of it. I think I got it out of my system now.
Okay.
But Yes, I put a lot of time into it.
Into Dragon Quest Builders 2.
And I did move it onto my top 10 games list, so
Oh man. But
I liked it a lot, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished the like main quest. And then there's like a post game, but it's kind of grindy. And it doesn't, in my opinion, do a good enough job of the thing that I think building games really have to do a good job of, which is providing like a couple of different gameplay loops that you can get into. Where like I guess I'm jumping ahead to our conversation, but I think like one of the things that makes building games like Minecraft or Terraria really engaging and makes it easy to get lost in them for long periods of time is that they have multiple types of gameplay loop in the game, like building and crafting, but then also fighting and going out and finding things. So like those are two different gameplay loops, and when you get bored with one, you can go and do the other for a while. But I felt like the post game in Dragon Quest Builders didn't do enough of that.
But did you get your money's worth?
Absolutely, yeah. And I paid full price for it, so.
Nice. Support game devs.
And whenever you and Will get it, we'll be excited to play it with you guys on stream. So.
But yeah, I'll start by saying first off, I am not someone who's really into building games. I've tried Minecraft and Terraria is fun, but only really when I'm playing with other people. They're not something that I would sit down and play by myself.
Yeah.
Like, my answer for it is like sort of the same. Actually, it's different, but it's the same vein, I guess. Is I do enough creative stuff on my own, like either writing or doing comedy or something, that when I sit down with a game, I don't want to be responsible for having my own fun. I want fun to be provided for me and experience what something else has made. So that's, to me, usually the first hurdle in a game like that is they're like, here's a bunch of blocks, build a house. And I'm just like, no. I want to experience a story or something.
Yeah.
So thinking about I am not an authority on what would make a good one, so you're gonna have to carry this one, Robert. And
Well, I love building games. You may have just seen me make a like, oh my god face, because
what?
I decided to very quickly look up how many hours I had put into Terraria.
Oh, I thought you meant oh my god, and what I said, and I was like, I'm sorry.
No, while you were talking, I looked it up.
How many hours?
I was just like, oh my god. Wait, I want you to take a guess first.
Well, I'm assuming it's in the hundreds because of that. I'm going to say it's almost 1,000 hours.
Okay, not bad. It was not that bad. It was 408 hours, which is still a lot of time.
I'm trying to think of what the most I've ever put
That
into
might be like the most hours of any game in my Steam library. I don't know if it lets you sort by what you've put the most time into, but
well,
the only other game that might have come close is Skyrim.
Well, I've got you beat on that, I guess. Oh, I'm really sad right now. Oh
yeah, Skyrim does not come even close.
Oh my god.
What?
Because I guess it's kind of a building game. Is the one I was like, I know I probably put a bunch of hours in is Fallout 4, and then I just looked and I have 496 hours in that.
Damn.
But I guess I've done multiple playthroughs, and then I just did a really, really long style playthrough on the channel.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know how I have that many hours.
Yeah. But yeah, I have that, and then Stardew Valley I looked up and have 148, if you want to count that as a builder game. I think it arguably at least has like elements builder game. Yeah.
I would include that within the sort of whatever this genre, like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. It might not have to be necessarily building things, but it's the loop of sort of... It's not simulator levels of stuff like Farming Simulator or Truck Simulator, but it's still like a game of systems about taking care of everyday life.
Yeah. And then I don't know, like Minecraft is not through Steam, and I haven't played that for years, but I played a lot of Minecraft in college, so I love building games. You, I guess, did not know that when you'd suggested Dragon Quest Builders, but that is a gameplay loop that I fall very hard into, and that game did some things that like I don't think it ever would have even occurred to me that I wanted in a building game, but I really liked them in Dragon Quest Builders. So,
Make you a little bit bigger. What were those things?
well, the big one for me was the fact that Dragon Quest Builders has like an actual plot is not something I would have thought that I would want in a building game, because like part of the appeal of a building game to me, especially games like Terraria or Minecraft, is that like I grew up playing with Legos, and those games are like unlimited Legos. Go and make whatever you want with them, you know? Um, and like that's just really fun for me. Um, so the idea that you would say, well, you have unlimited Legos, but you have to do this one story with the Legos isn't something I would have thought that I would like as much as I ended up liking it. So
Because to me, it's like the opposite of that's what I needed in Dragon Quest Builders. That was like the only
Yeah.
reason I cared about playing it. Is I was like, oh, I really like these characters. I want to see where it goes. Is that when a game, or even because the jumping ahead, because we haven't really talked about even any of our ideas. Is the more I was thinking about a building game, the more it was really like I kept thinking about more the survival elements than the building elements. So I may have accidentally made a survival game instead of actually a building game.
yeah.
Is I would need, like, instead of just dropped in the middle of the wilderness, then it's like, don't die! I want something to be like, hey, build a fire. Do this. Like, I want the game to be, like, telling me what it needs me to do rather than just, here's everything. Because then I'm just like, I don't know what you want me to do. But, so, we were coming up with stuff. I want to hear what have you been thinking about for your building game?
So I modeled mine in a lot of ways off of Dragon Quest Builders 3. I did write like a plot for this game. I don't know if you want to start with there, and then we can like move into some of the nitty grittier details of like mechanics and whatnot in the game, or
You take it where you want to go. I'm the backseat boy. Your picture's bigger than mine.
all right. So I one of the things I really liked in Dragon Quest Builders was like the relationship that you have with Malroth. And I liked the idea of another game where you have a relationship with someone, but I also wanted to like leverage that relationship into some of the decisions that you have to make. So my idea for this game was you would start and it would be a lot like the start of Fallout. Well, actually, did you design your spouse in Fallout 4?
You could.
You could? Okay.
All you would do is you would just switch to them as like, I want to play as this character. You change the look and go, never mind, I want to be the boy, and then it'll keep them
Gotcha.
the same. So yeah, you could custom make both of them.
Okay, so this game, though, you do custom make yourself and your spouse. Both of them can be whatever gender you want. We're all inclusive here in my game.
Demolition Man's not gonna like that.
Well, he can deal with it, because when I rewrite him, he's gonna fucking love knitting.
Nice.
Anyway, so after that, like, there would be a prologue sort of tutorial sequence where you and the character who will be your spouse in the future of the game are like kids and your neighbors, and you just like go and play in the woods behind your house. And so like in the tutorial you build a little like fort in the woods together, and then you get called into dinner by your parents, and you and the person who will be your spouse had talked about how you need to find something like super special to finish up the fort. And when you get called in, your future spouse, just friend for now, like is looking around the woods still and finds this weird obelisk thing, and they break the obelisk apart, and then like the screen fades to black. And when we come back in, it's the present time of the game now, and you and your spouse have just acquired a piece of land kind of like out in the woods away from everything else, and you're about to build your dream home. Um, but after the first day of building, you're going back to town, and your spouse mysteriously collapses, and like a weird stone rolls out of their mouth. And you rush them back into town, and the doctor's like, I can't fix this. You need a wizard. So you go to the wizard and like do some more tutorial introduction magic-y quests for them, and then they come back and you're like, yeah, your spouse pissed off some invisible people or elves or like some kind of thing that lived in the forest that made the obelisk, and that cursed them. And so the bulk of the game is you are trying to get your spouse cured from the curse that is going to kill them. The wizard like gets them back in shape where they can like run around and be your helper like Malroth was in Dragon Quest Builders. That you just know that like if you don't get the curse removed, then they're gonna die. And the way to cure the curse is that you have to go to however many villages. I haven't decided. For me, like the more the better, but whatever. And each village has a MacGuffin, and you have to gather all of the MacGuffins and make a big temple that enshrines the MacGuffins. And also, when you go to like each village, the like villagers there will have various quests that you can do, and sometimes they'll reward you with like a new recipe or a unique item, or they'll become your villager, and when you finish up the main quest in the village that gives you the MacGuffin, they will want to come back to you to the land that you were going to build your house on, and they want you to build like a whole town there for all of them. And then the end of the game is that you've got all of the MacGuffins and built the temple and built like a whole town and stuff. And the witch who told you about the curse, or wizard or whatever, is like, all right, cool, we're ready to do the ritual now, but there's a cost to it, which is that everything you built will be destroyed. Because I liked the idea that like in a building game, you can make the player have to actually give up something that they've worked hard for. Like, I don't know.
I don't know about that either.
Yeah. Well, like, I feel like it's a really hard thing to sell, but the reason that I liked the idea is I feel like a lot of the times in a video game, when you're asked to like make a choice where you're giving up something, you're really not giving up that much. And I liked the idea that like you can have a game where you have to like make a choice, because this isn't something that Dragon Quest Builders does, but I had kept like asking myself while playing that, if this game put me in a situation where I had to destroy everything that I'd built in order to save Malroth, would I do that? And I think I would, because I liked that character enough. And I guess I like the idea of a game where there's like a character who you like enough that you'd be willing to give up something that you had worked really hard on. The other advantage to that is that something that I found kind of frustrating about Builders is that like by the time you finish the main story, your island is covered with all of this stuff. Some of it is stuff that like you don't even pick what it is. You just had to build it because your village people wanted it. But also there's like houses that you built when you only had materials from the first island or whatever. And then you're like, well, now I have all the materials, but there's already all this shit everywhere. I'd kind of like it if it wasn't here at all. So like it gives the game a mechanic where you can just like create a clean slate for the player to then build whatever they want in. But
So is it a choice, or is it?
it would be a choice. Yeah, you could choose to let your spouse get curse murdered and keep all of the stuff you had built.
Okay. Then it would work. I thought you were saying like it had to do that, and I'm like, oh,
No. It's a
some
choice.
people would be so pissed because there would be those people who build like scale models of Hyrule in your game,
Yeah.
and then it's like you have to blow that all up now. Like that was thousands of hours of work. What the fuck?
Well, I think like you one thing you could do to prevent people from making too much is set very strict limits on like what the edges of the town are until you get to the post game. So like you could build a lot of stuff, but you couldn't actually like
Yeah,
build a one-to-one replica of Deep Space Nine.
that's the thing that blows up the Death Star, right?
Uh, no. That's the thing that protects the Bajoran wormhole, because the Cardassians want to get it back.
Because they want all the
And
spice from the Dune planet.
no,
Uh,
because they want to re-enslave the Bajorans.
okay, but which one has pod racing?
That's Star Wars.
The one with Geordie LaForge.
No, Star Trek has Geordi LaForge. Star Trek: The Next Generation, but I'm talking about Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, the series which came after The Next Generation.
Okay, so Kanye West's family are trying to do something in space. The Kardashians.
The Cardassians, Cardassians. They're kind of like space Nazis, except more. They're not like. I mean, they're kind of cartoonish villains sometimes, but they're not real. Like, there's a lot of intricacy to the way that they're written. They're really like a great series. They're a great alien, and there's some great Cardassian characters.
Okay.
I would say one of the best villains in fiction is Gul Dukat. So I don't know how much further we want to go with this bit.
That's fine. I mean, Firefly was all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's a good. I think that's a good setup for a game for sure. So, what mechanics? Because that's what really sells a building game. Does your game have?
So, one thing that I like the idea of is that while most of the game is still like divided up into the blocks that most building games have, that there would be a mechanic that would allow you to interact with blocks on a more granular level if you wanted to. So like while you would normally be just like moving one block at a time, you could also interact with blocks in like a 2x2 where like the blocks would be divided into quadrants, or a 3x3 where they'd be divided into like I guess 27 little cubes that you could pick which one. I don't. No, it's not 20. I don't know. I'm really bad at math and geometry. But just the idea that like when you're placing blocks or moving items, or like you could change the shape of a block on a more granular level to make something that's more in line with like what you really want to make, you know? Because that's a mechanic that I personally would really enjoy in a building game. Some other things that I have lifted from Dragon Quest builders, and I have some other non-Dragon Quest things as well. But in Dragon Quest builders, you can like get other people other than Malroth who will follow you, and you can also befriend like various monsters or animals who would follow you. And I like that idea a lot, so I want to bring that back. I actually really like the idea of adding some of the more like base building or city building-y mechanics to a builder game, where like not only are you just moving blocks around, but also like there's generators that you can make, and like the other NPCs have wants or needs that have to be met. So like having to have a farm, like Dragon Quest Builders has some of that, but I would like even more of it, I guess. And then I don't know. I guess that was all my big stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, I don't. I mean, like the basics of a building game are, all in the building. One thought that I'd had, and Dragon Quest has a version of this, but I feel like you could do a better version of it. Is very like as you go through the game, there would be portals that you can unlock that would take you to areas that are separate from your own world and that are randomly generated each time you go there. And that way you can just like get in there and fuck those areas up in order to harvest the resources that you want from them. Because like something that always sucked playing Minecraft was that the more you play Minecraft, the further you're having to go from your own base in order to find materials. But also, like, if you have harvested the entirety of the forest that's near your base, suddenly that like cool scenic forest that you used to have isn't there anymore. So like you're always having to pick like, do I want to keep this cool natural feature or do I want to get the resources from it? Whereas if you have in Dragon Quest Builders, they're like Explorers Islands or what they're called, where it's like an island that you can go to, and every time you go there, it's randomized. But it will always have like each island will have specific different resources that you can find there.
Oh.
So that way, like you can get all of the resources that you need without just like making a horrific Lord of the Rings nightmare where you've mined out the entirety of like all of the space under your hell tower that you're making orcs in. Uh, which like Terraria sort of had a system like this as well, where it wasn't a portal, it wasn't like diegetic in game in the same way that it is in Dragon Quest Builders. But with Terraria, you could just build a whole new world, and because your same character could just be loaded into a different world, you could make worlds that only existed because you wanted to harvest them for resources. Which like I think is a good thing in a building game because I don't know, I at least really like the idea of like building various buildings or monuments or like whatever I want to make so that they fit into and become a part of the environment. But
Makes sense.
yeah, I don't know.
Anything else about your game you want to tell us?
Not that I can think of right now. I feel like most of the work that I did was writing the kind of plot that led up to decisions that I wanted to make. I did like one other thing that I was thinking is I don't want it to be a complete surprise when you have to make that difficult choice at the end. So I like the idea that like a lot of the other quests that you do during the game would often make you choose between like kind of a greedy resolution to a quest or a resolution where like you're giving up something that you might want in order to make the NPCs who you're doing the quest for happier, like you do a quest and the quest would make you find a magic MacGuffin that maybe looked really cool, and then you'd have to decide, well, do I want to just keep this MacGuffin and put it in my hedonism castle, or do I want to just give it up and I'll maybe never get it back again, but this NPC will be saved, that kind of thing.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Which again, like I said, I feel like a building game would actually be really uniquely situated to put players in scenarios where like making the good choice in resolving a quest means actually giving up something that you might want. But
Yeah, that's cool. I think you got yourself another winner, Robert.
Well, I tried.
Got to get that made.
Let's hear your game.
It's dumb, and like I said, I think it's actually more of a survival game because the one to me, because like games where it's everything are blocks are another thing that don't really appeal to me. So one game that I've actually not really played that much of, but I was like, I really like the idea of it, is Subnautica,
Yeah, I've heard that's pretty cool.
which is a game I want to watch you play because you're the one who doesn't like going into the ocean, right?
Yeah, that I do actually want to play that game, but definitely there will be some parts where I'm like, oh, I don't like how dark and spoopy it is down here.
Nice. That'll be another thing once we're up there. We'll get you a copy of that and we'll stream it. It's very dumb, but I wanted to make it as different from other stuff that I had seen as I didn't want to be a game where you're like playing with like wood and whatever. So the idea I had, and it's dumb, is a game where you either through space travel or like mad scientist warpage, you basically end up in a world that is almost like the witch from Hansel and Gretel taken to a global scale, where basically everything in the world is edible. Because that's, to me, because once again, I think I was more in the survival mindset rather than like, this is a game where you can build whatever you want. It was more of a game where it's about surviving and interacting, but you can also build whatever you want.
Yeah.
In a lot of those games, one of the first challenges is finding a reliable source of food. So this would kind of turn it on its head, where there isn't really a problem with food itself keeping yourself full. It's that everything is basically what looks like is made of candy. So instead of using like wood, you're using like candy canes and stuff. So you're building like gingerbread houses and stuff. And then the twist is your character suffers from diabetes. So what happens is what you're trying to, the most valuable resources are nutritious foods like broccoli and whatever. But also the thing that is weird is that it is inhabited by like gingerbread people and candy people who all survive by cannibalizing each other. So you are this person who is not a food person, and everyone is like, do we eat this person? Do we make friends? So it's this weird thing of building relationships, but also knowing I may have to eat one of these gingerbread people to survive because they're more nutritious than just eating raw sugar sand off the ground. But everyone's looking for like nutritious food, which you would then bring back and start farms with. And then having those farms would either then make people want to live nearby you, or they'll attack you to try to get that sort of stuff. But you would be managing, and we don't even call it diabetes because that's almost like too weird, but it'd be stuff where like if you eat too much sugar and stuff like that, your vision would start blurring from all of like the glucose like fucking up your blood. So it would be not really worrying about starving, but like, I'm having a heart attack from all of this stuff. I don't know, just different survival conditions. And then it would be a game where, because everything's made of candy, it has like a very cutesy, innocent aesthetic, which is the perfect breeding ground for dark and horrific things to do.
Yeah.
Which is what I like. So there would be parts where it's like, how do you guys get around? And then it's like, oh, we're going to the sacrifice pits. And you just see like all of the gingerbread people being torn apart and eaten by like licorice men. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening? And then you could make the night times really scary by actually having like real horrific monsters. I don't know. That's about all I really thought about.
I like that idea a lot, though. I also like that juxtaposition of the childlike imagery of Candyland with horrific nightmare fuel.
Because that was Candyland is exactly what I was thinking about. Is like, oh, you're gonna get stuck in the licorice swamps.
And that's also like kind of a unique aesthetic for not just a building game, but I feel like that's not an aesthetic you see in a lot of games at all. You know, maybe there's like in Mario a Candyland section, but like it's a cool aesthetic, and I feel like it actually makes a lot of sense for a building game that like you could take apart various gingerbread pieces and put them back together in different shapes and
I guess the
haul
other
around big old peppermints and shit.
the other mechanic would be is that since everything is food, aside from stuff that's like mechanically would be like in its natural environment, like stuff that's like if it's river water, it's in the river, is like you start producing like gingerbread stuff, is it will start to rot over time. So what the technology tree would be is you eventually get access to materials that no longer rot. So like
Gotcha.
you could be like, so you can't just make a base and be like, this is where I'm gonna live from the start of the game onwards, because it's like the first few tree entries of this stuff will start rotting, and like that'll attract like bugs and stuff and can fuck your shit up really bad. So will encourage movement and exploration to kind of be like, okay, this whole gingerbread fortress is going to topple over and crush me if I keep sleeping in it unless I rebuild it from the ground up right now. But I don't want to do that. I want to go see what's over that hill. So I guess the end game would be I can now build laminated chocolate bridges that don't fall apart and do not rot in the sun. So now I'm going to build a castle on top of this hill of molasses.
Maybe by the end game you become a gingerbread person yourself and no longer have diabetes.
Oh.
And then you can just eat whatever you want.
Because I think
and also magically stuff doesn't rot anymore.
The ending of it would actually be getting off of the planet you're on. Or whatever, and then the end fun game would be you basically just have the means to travel back to it whenever you want. Because very minor spoilers for Subnautica is like the story setup for that is you're crash land on a planet, you're trying to get off of it, is that you can win the game and get off the planet, which is something I really like. Because it's not like Minecraft is a game where once you're dropped in, it's just like you're stuck here forever, whatever. But I like the idea of an end game. So that's what, if I was going to make a game like this, it would have to have some sort of thing you're trying to achieve other than, I want to have the tallest candy cane in the world.
Yeah.
I would be like, I would have to have something set up that something happens. But, I don't know. That was the dumb idea I had.
No, I liked that idea.
Dang.
I would play that game. I think for me, like, the one hesitation I have is a lot of the more survival-y mechanics are, like, a very fine line for me in terms of, like, when they become too frustrating, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a person for whom a pure survival game is at all appealing. Like, Don't Starve Together is a game I do not care for.
Dang.
Yeah. Which I mean, like, I think it's an objectively good game, but just it's not for me, you know.
That's actually one of the games I was going to ask if you wanted to play together sometime. But
I mean, like, I would play it. I'm just telling you, I will get very frustrated.
Fair enough. But yeah, like, to me, I also am not, if it's just a pure survival, I'm not super big into it. Is that there just needs to be structure, and if it's just building, I won't really care. Like, there has to be something that I have to keep my eye on, like a resource or something. Otherwise, I'll just get bored and be like, oh, okay.
Whereas I'm a Lego kid, and I'm like, yeah, I give me all the blocks so that I can go and build a giant Evangelion Unit 01.
Oh, man.
That was like the first big thing I ever built in Minecraft was an enormous Ava Unit 01. I was proud of myself.
Well, I'm proud of you too.
The coolest thing I ever built in Minecraft, though, was a enormous house that was like the outside of it was King Boo, and then you like went in through his mouth, and that was the door to get into the house. And there was like a whole house in there with like a dance club on like the bottom floor, and
That's
just like
pretty cool.
house stuff. It was pretty fun.
Nice. All right. I mean, that's all I had to say. Ready to move on to just picking what we're going to do next week?
Yeah.
All right. Any suggestion for movies? I had one. Well, two, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. I mean, I always have some. Um, so one thing I was thinking, the second best movie that I watched this week was Parasite, and I would like to watch some other Bong Joon-ho movies. Um, the two that I was thinking I'm most interested in are The Host or Snowpiercer, which is on Netflix right
I've
now. So
seen both of those
you've seen both
movies.
of them. So those
Snowpiercer
I'd
is
be
really good.
okay. Well, would you want to watch Snowpiercer?
Uh, we can keep talking about other stuff.
Okay, sure. Um, some other things that I had been thinking about. Silence of the Lambs has been very high on my list of things that I want to rewatch.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So wait, what was the best? If Parasite was the second best movie, what was the best movie you watched?
Eyes Wide Shut. Um,
Okay, wait. Were we talking about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, because then it must have talking about with Will and Evan, because I had been talking about Eyes Wide Shut with them.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
have you seen it
Yeah,
before?
I've seen basically every
Okay.
movie. Yeah, it's the Tom Cruise weird orgy movie.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
That's it's weird. I don't remember much about it, but I definitely saw it in college, and I was like, "Yep."
I think it's just like thematically, it was touching on a lot of topics that I'm really interested in, and it had a perspective that I really liked on them, or at least like the way that I was reading it felt that way. Of course, with Kubrick, he's like so complicated
That's a
that
Kubrick movie.
yeah,
Wow,
that's a Kubrick movie.
I didn't know that. I might have to watch
That
that again
like
at some point.
I feel like I have to recognize that I could be reading things completely wrong. But and also like I only have seen it once so far. I definitely want to watch it again.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, that actually one other movie that I was thinking of for this week is a movie that I think is probably not as good as Eyes Wide Shut, although it would not be as weird because I don't recall it having weird orgy parties. But it's a movie that I think could be interesting. Maybe I think it's called The Ninth Gate. It's a Roman Polanski movie
That
with I think
the ninth. Are you talking
what
about the ninth? No, that's the seventh seal. Never mind.
the ninth. I'm pretty sure it's called The Ninth Gate.
That sounds so familiar.
If I recall, I watched it when I was much younger. Yeah, it is called The Ninth
Oh, is
Gate.
it the
It
Johnny
has
Depp
Johnny
movie?
Depp in it. Yeah.
Oh wow, that has
Um,
terrible reviews. I'm pretty.
that doesn't surprise me, but I feel like it could
think
be
I've seen that
interesting
movie.
to talk about.
Okay. The two I was thinking about were The Godfather, which I don't know if you've seen that.
I think I saw it once in a class a very long time ago, but it is on my list of things that I need to watch as an adult.
Because that's still technically the highest reviewed movie of all time.
Huh.
Like it has perfect reviews on everything that ever like professionally reviewed it at its time. And no one here has. I've seen it a bunch, and I talk about it a lot. I hadn't seen that. And then the other one was The Shawshank Redemption, which I haven't seen all the way through ever.
Gotcha.
But if you want to do Snowpiercer, and then the one I said before is Last Action Hero, which is a fun movie with things to talk about that won't leave me sad and depressed, like all the other ones will, I'm sure. But have you not seen Snowpiercer?
No, I haven't seen it before.
If you want to do Snowpiercer, we can do Snowpiercer.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see Snowpiercer.
That is a weird movie.
Oh, well, I like weird.
Any ideas for video game stuff? I don't really have any. I honestly don't really think that much about this podcast during the week.
Yeah, I don't think I have any ideas for video game stuff. Hmm.
Just realized I can't raise my right eyebrow. Nope.
Huh.
I can't do it by itself. I can only do it if I lift both my eyebrows.
Gotcha.
I can lift my left one, like, but I can't do it with my right one.
Hmm.
I mean, we can, if we can't think about it now, we can think about it through the week, or hell, we just do just movies only next time.
All right.
It's whatever needs to happen.
Yeah, we'll try and think of something, and if we can't, then we can do only movies. I guess we could do a double feature. Where we could do Snowpiercer and Shawshank Redemption. They're probably not very much related as movies, but that way there'd be something that you could watch that wouldn't bum you out.
I mean, it's. I've already seen Snowpiercer, so it's already bummed me out. So it can't bum me out any more than it's already bummed me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just plan to do Snowpiercer for now. And if you're like, I had an idea that hit me, just text me, and then I'll put it on the Twitter.
I can do that.
All right, cool. Well, anyway, thanks for everyone who stopped by.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm going to try to do something possibly very stupid, and I'm going to try to stream for 12 hours starting at 10
Oh, wow.
and go till 10. It's probably not going to happen because probably around the 8-hour mark, I'm going to start having like intense migraines from being in front of the computer, and then I'll stop. But I really want to be done with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not a bad game. I've just been playing it for almost 150 hours, and I'm just like...
ready to move on. I know, yeah, I would definitely be ready to move on. But
I'm ready to play The Witcher.
well, I probably can't be here for a whole 12 hours, but you know what? I'll be around as much as I can to hang out with my bud.
I will appreciate it. But yeah, I would not ask anyone for. It's also more of a monitoring tool to see like what time during the day people might pop in and do stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea for an experiment.
But I didn't stream Wednesday because I just hadn't been sleeping and I was so tired that after I did my shift, of work, I was like, I need to go to bed, and then I just slept for most of the day.
Well, I hope you can get the sleeping thing figured out.
Me too. And thank you.
You're in my bed, and I want you to feel good.
You're my bud. We're all buds. But anyway.
Indeed.
So yeah, we got that, and then and I should be done with Assassin's Creed probably early next week, and then we'll start doing new stuff. We got Saints Row 4 planned for some time in the future. So did you have a time you wanted to start doing that? I can start doing it.
I could start it I could start it really whenever you wanted.
Do you want to plan for next Monday?
Sure.
Cool. We'll plan for Monday evening stream, playing some Saints Row 4 and Metro 2033. Will and I are going to start playing in the morning, but that won't be until he's done with this one project he's working on. So that'll probably be March 1st at the earliest. Got a whole bunch of new stuff. That's the whole point of what I'm saying.
Indeed.
So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.